Welcome to the Angler Talk Podcast with Chris and Aaron. Brought to you by FishingMagicianTV.com.
What is up, everybody? It's Chris back again with another weekly episode of Angler Talk, and boy oh boy do I got some striper reports for you. All the way from North Jersey to South Jersey, the striper bite is super hot. They're catching them on spoons, they're catching them on shads, they're catching them on bunker spoons, mojos, umbrellas. Whether you got a boat or whether you're on the surf, get out there. The bite is hot. Trust me on this. But anyway, this week I have a captain out of Rhode Island. Her name is Coral Aiello, known on social media as a professional hooker, and I hope you guys enjoy our conversation. Check it out. And here I am with Captain Coral Aiello out of Rhode Island. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Oh, I can't complain. Just another day in winding, and now I get to shoot the breeze with you. So how's it going up there in Rhode Island?
It's going good. Yeah. Weather's getting a little cold, but we're in our tautog season here in Rhode Island. So a lot of people come down for this awesome fishery. So that's kind of what we're doing right now. Just Absolutely. Catching a lot of tog.
You already hit the nail on the head with me. I'm a big togging person. I love that. And I finally got my personal best, which was 10-11 last year. But I hear in Rhode Island, you guys got some really big piggies up there.
Yeah, I don't want to let out any secrets, but yeah, there's some big ones around for sure.
Yeah, I've been following your social media, and you definitely posted up some pictures of some nice hogs up there for sure.
Yeah, I just caught my personal best this year, actually.
Oh, so, yeah? What's the size of that one?
I didn't have a scale on board, and I released it, but I'm guessing around 16 pounds.
Wow, that's you kicking my butt for sure.
Fish of a lifetime, awesome. For sure.
Yeah. So for the people that don't know you, you're up in Rhode Island. You run a charter called the Sarah Star Charters, I believe it is.
Sarah Star Fishing Charters. Yep.
So how did you, as a woman getting into a male-dominated sport, but you girls seem to kick our butt all the time. Like what got you into fishing? How did it all start for you?
So it all started. My dad has been in the commercial fishing industry since the 70s. And then he later converted into charter fishing. And he did that in 1995. So it's basically kind of what I grew up with. I just remember always going down to the dock, seeing him when I was younger, always fascinated with the fish and the boat. And then one day, I think I was around 14 years old. I was like, "Can I work for you?" And he's like, "Oh, I don't know, I'm like, "No, it'll be good. I think I'm going to like this." And he always tells this story, I guess. We use sandworms sometimes for trolling for bass, and they have these pinchers on them. And I remember one time it had a big pinch my finger, and I'm holding it. I'm like, "Look," and he's like, "Okay, maybe this will work," So ever since then, that's kind of how I got into it. My dad, really.
Yeah, I hear you. Our fathers are usually the start of our drug addiction, I guess we can say, when it comes to fishing. And I gotta understand your dad's side of it. Daddy's little princess wants to get into the fishing world. It's kind of different, but it's friggin' awesome at the same time. And I heard you say bass. And what kind of fisheries do you guys have in Rhode Island? I'm assuming it's not much different for us here in New Jersey, but I know you are the land of the giants.
Yeah, so it's pretty similar. So of course we have striped bass. We do a lot of black sea bass fishing. Tuna when they're in. Of course, the tautog fishing is very popular in Rhode Island. But yeah, that's pretty much it. We used to target fluke. We don't do so much of that anymore, just because it's really hard to catch them these days in Rhode Island. It used to be very good, but that's kind of slowed down. So we don't really do that much. But mostly bass fishing for our charters and tautog and sea bass. That's mainly what we target.
I got you. And talking about the striper bite has been. Right now in Jersey, it's on fire. And,
I've heard.
We're catching some pretty big monsters over here in Jersey. A couple weeks ago, I got me close to a 50-pounder, but nothing too crazy yet. But what is your style of fishing for striped bass up there?
So a lot of people, what we do on charter, we do a lot of trolling. So we use parachute jigs. We used to use tube and worm, but again, it's very boring doing that, just waiting for the rod to bend. So we kind of incorporated parachute jigging. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but it's more interactive, and it's kind of fun because you're actually hooking the fish and feeling the hit, which is always the best part of fishing. After that, you're just like worried about getting it in, you know? So that's kind of what we do. And we also do a lot of chunking for bass. So we'll go on anchor and we'll mainly target, sea bass, have people bottom fishing, but then we'll throw out some chunks unweighted, and just kind of drift those down. And it's really fun because we're using light tackle. So it kind of gives our guests like another way of showing them how we catch bass.
And I'm assuming you guys using bunker chunks, right?
Yeah, bunker, mackerel. Mackerel's a good one. I prefer using mackerel, but yeah.
I got you. So, in your area of Rhode Island, do you do much freshwater fishing, or are you just a salty girl to the core?
No, definitely a salty girl to the core, but no, during like the winter when like the saltwater kind of slows down, I do convert to freshwater, and I only started doing that a few years ago. So I'll do some bass fishing and some trout fishing, and of course ice fishing if we get ice here in Rhode Island. If it gets cold enough. We did last year, so hoping for some ice this year. It keeps me busy, in the winter.
Absolutely. I agree with you. I mean, I'm not really a freshwater guy myself, but there's a lot of freshwater dudes that come up on the show, and it starts to get me a little bit more intrigued, but at the same time in the back of my head I'm saying, why am I going to go fish for a fish that's kind of like the same size of the bait that I use,
It's like apples and oranges. Like when you're freshwater fishing, you like already know what you're going to catch. There's really like no big surprise. Maybe you're going to get some big bass or something like that, but like there's no like mystery about it. Like when you're saltwater fishing, anything can happen, and that's what's really cool about it.
Absolutely, because in these depths, at the same time, we never know what we're really going to pull up. We know what we're targeting, but like anything can bite this thing, your rig. And my favorite thing to do is bottom fishing, because at the end of the day, you don't know what you're going to pull up: a ling, a codfish, a sea bass. There's just so many things that can happen, and it's really good to see somebody younger. I mean, I'm not that old, but it's good to see somebody younger really get into it. And you're a captain, and that's something that's pretty awesome. I think you're still in college, right?
I am, yes. I'm in college.
So what made you say, what, this is the career path I'm going to choose? And is this going to be like a long-term thing for you? Or is it something in college that you're studying that you maybe want to pursue, or is fishing it?
Yeah. So when I started at college, I changed my major a few times, and I was in marine biology. Then I ended up changing it to what I'm in now, which is agriculture and fishery science. And then basically last year, I kind of was like, I don't know, like I like what I'm learning. I like what I'm doing in college, but I just really feel like I want to be fishing. I want to be on a boat. I like showing people what I do. I like that excitement when someone lands their biggest fish and you get to show them that experience. So there's just something about that I just can't get away from. So then that's when I decided I'm going to get my captain's license. My dad's getting a little older. He's had the business for 28 years. So he's looking to like kind of retire soon, and I'm hopefully going to take it over. So that's kind of the goal. But the college is kind of the backup.
But yeah, it's always good to have something to fall back on. So what you're doing is definitely very, very good. And what I like to hear about, with the marine biology and everything like that, it sounds like somebody is maybe interested in getting into the field of helping these regulation management, because regulation management kills people like me and you who are charter captains, and the tackle industry and all these head boats that are going out of business because regulations are just literally crushing us. Like, what is your regulations up there for like the normal inshore fishery, like bass, tog, and sea bass and stuff like that?
Yeah, so striped bass, which is pretty versatile everywhere. It's of course the 28 inches. They have to be at least 28 inches, but then you have to let go ones that are 35 and over. So basically, all those big breeder fish. Is that the same regulations for where you are?
Well, in Jersey, because here in the armpit, we're a bunch of like jerks, and we don't like to take it up the butt as bad as New York and in the further north states. But our regulation for striper is 28 to 38.
Oh, okay.
We also have the regulation that if you're fishing with live bait or dead bait, any type of actual live bait at one point, we have to use an inline circle hook, which I cannot stand because I have that habit of setting the hook. I
Yes,
like J hooks. That's my thing.
I'm with you on that. We have that same regulation here, and a lot of people always like, oh, circle hook. And I have to say, it takes away from you hooking the fish. And not only that, but we've been using J hooks for basically the whole time my dad's been running charters. And I have to say, I've been doing it for 12 years. And the amount of stripers that we actually gut hook with a J hook while bait fishing or something is it's minimal. Like, it's like I could count on my hands, like the whole season it's happened. So
Yeah.
when they say that the circle hook, is better because it always hooks in the lip, it doesn't, because I've had circle hooks get swallowed, so it's like hard to,
Yes,
I don't know. Sometimes I feel like they just make regulations to make it look better. Oh, this is going to be better. But it's like, is that really making a difference? I don't really know.
I completely agree with you. I mean, I'm 34. I started fishing when I was 6, so that makes it 28 years that I've been fishing. And I've always used a J hook, and I have gut hooked one fish in 28 years, and that was because I went with a smaller size. I went with a 5.0 as opposed to my normal 8-aught or 10-aught hook, you know what I'm saying? And I used a very small piece of bait, and this striper just inhaled it. But anyway, that fish still didn't go to waste. In my house, we eat fish, and it's not that big of a deal to harvest one or two fish, or if it's within the law, there's nothing wrong with that. Now you got these mainly surf guys is what I see the most is, oh, you got to catch and release this. I'm like, look, man, there are millions of fish out there. When you're hearing these politicians are saying the mortality rate is this and striped bass is almost extinct, I think that that's horse, for lack of better words. But stripers are around and very, very healthy. Like, for instance, I had a friend out last year tuna fishing in the Hudson Canyon. We're talking about 100 miles offshore, and there are acres of stripers just biting his bait, and he's just like, man, I can't keep these fish past 3 miles. But it's like the science is totally off, and I totally get what you're saying. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So to go back on kind of why I'm studying what I'm studying, I kind of wanted to be on the other side to see kind of, because I am on the fisherman side. I wanted to see what it was like on the other side, to see who makes the regulations. How does it, like, how do they decide on the regulations? I wanted to kind of see what that was like. And I have to say, sometimes, I agree with the stripe regulations we have now. I'm really for conservation of fish. I don't mind letting those big breeders go. Like, that's totally fine with me. A lot of them that I actually tag, and it's cool to see that. But when I see how they're sometimes getting the information, it doesn't always sometimes add up to how it's presented while they say, okay, this is this and this is this now, and we're going to use circle hooks and all this. It just, I don't know. Like, I saw something the other day. I guess a lot of people are talking about how a lot of striped bass mortality is by catch and release. And I want to know how they get that data. Like, how are they following the fish when they let the fish go? How do they know it dies after it got caught and released? Like, there's just things like that where sometimes I don't understand where they're coming up with this data stuff. And I know a lot of times they're getting data from fishermen, and I can admit to it. I'm not always honest. They want you to, fill out, okay, how many fish did you catch today? What were they? Like, they want details. And a lot of fishermen at the end of the day, they don't want to do that. They're just going to write something down. I mean, not all, and some of them are, good guys, and they fill all that stuff out. But, we don't all the time, sometimes we're tired and we're just like, okay, we caught this and that's done, because we do have to fill out, you're supposed to fill out logs and stuff. So, I mean, some of the data they're getting, it's just not 100% accurate.
I remember listening to one of the members of the JCAA, the Jersey Coast Anglers Association, and they're one of those associations that go to all these meetings, and they fight, for our rights as fishermen, whether it be commercial or recreational. And I remember them telling a story how, because they keep cutting our sea bass regs here in Jersey, it's to the point to where so many months of the year is two fish. Like, for the people who are running a head boat, especially head boats for fish like sea bass and fluke, which is summer flounder, it's kind of like you're literally putting these people out of business. You're saying that the biomass has gone up 200%, but you keep cutting the regulation because you say that you can't trust the data. But at the end of the day, it's still your data. I have been at the docks coming off of head boats, and I've seen these surveyors come to the boat, and they'll go up to one or two people on the boat and say, "How many fish did you catch today?" Today, the guy was, "Oh, I put 8." So what they'll do is they'll take that one person's response, ask the captain, "How many people you got on the boat today?" The captain will say, "I had 51, 52, whatever," and then they'll time that one person's response by 52 people, which is not always accurate. One guy will have 10, 15 fish, another guy, the next 3 guys might have 0. It's
Yeah.
just the luck of the draw, and the way that these people get this data is beyond ridiculous.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up the sea bass because we feel the same way here in Rhode Island. Um, it's 2 per person now, and then it switched to 3 per person later in the season. It used to be 3 per person, switched to 7 per person, I believe, if I'm correct.
Yeah, I
So
gotta,
yeah,
I gotta look at the sheet, but I know we have a month or two where it's like 10 per person, and then for like 3 or 4 months it's like 2 per person, and a couple of months it's closed. But I'm not always on point with my regulation. I always keep the sheet with me just so I make sure I know what I'm doing is not illegal. But
yeah.
I do love following your Instagram because you're posting and I'm at work and I'm just like, I want to get out there. You posted a couple of days ago a picture of this big old tuna fish, and how big was that bad boy?
That one was about 54 inches, guessing around 80 to 90 pounds.
Yeah, I
Um,
bet it tasted good.
yeah, actually, I don't eat tuna. I don't like tuna.
Yeah,
No,
yeah. Well, I'll be
no, I'm
honest with
weird.
you. A lot of people say that I'm crazy. My favorite thing to eat in the ocean is not tuna fish. My number one fish to eat is ling. I don't know what it is about this fish. It's in the codfish family, but I absolutely love it. Do you guys get a lot of ling up there in Rhode Island?
Sometimes, I mean, you have to kind of go deeper for them. Like if we're going cod fishing, we usually get them as like a bycatch. We don't get a whole bunch, but I did have them last year for the first time, and I have to say they were exceptionally good.
Yeah, absolutely. I
Yeah.
agree with you. But I did also notice I haven't actually seen any videos yet, but I'm just gonna be honest with you. But I did come across your YouTube page. You popped up on my suggested videos, and how long you been making YouTube videos?
I started it like maybe a year and a half ago. I kind of started off strong and I lost a little momentum. Not that I don't love, sharing my experiences with people, but what got me is that when you're filming and fishing, I felt like it took away from my fishing. I'm like worried about, is my camera on? Did I get that? Oh, I got to go, change out my batteries. And I'm like, I just want to fish. So
Yeah,
that's kind of what happened with that.
I know exactly what you mean, and I'm a very superstitious dude, especially when it comes to fishing. And for some reason, I just feel like when I bring those cameras on the boat with me, it's like there's probably a very high chance I'm not going to catch anything today if I turn this camera on. Is
No,
that
that's
kind of like?
exactly no, that's exactly it too. Because there's been so many times where I haven't brought the camera and something's happened. So I'm like, oh, I got to bring the cameras today, and then nothing happens. It's kind of why
Yeah.
when I caught that big tautog, I didn't bring a scale or a net that day, and I don't usually because I kind of fish a lot off my dinghy. It's like a 10-foot inflatable. And I was like, if I bring this, I thought about bringing it, but I'm like, I know if I bring this, nothing's going to be worth weighing. I'm not going to be able, like, nothing's going to be worth netting. So I just left it. And then, look what happens. So,
Yeah, I hear you. But sometimes it's better safe than sorry. So I gotta agree
yeah.
with you on that one. But what is the Sarah Star charters? How big of a boat? What kind of charters do you guys offer and stuff like that?
Yeah. So we run 31 BHM down Easter.
Okay.
So we do a lot of half-day charters. We tailor to a lot of tourists because Newport's a really big tourist town. So a lot of tourists come out with us, kind of people from like all over the world. We got a lot of people from Europe and, people from Alabama who have never even been on the ocean before. We get a lot of families and kids, and that's who we kind of cater to more in the spring, summer months. A lot of half-day trips, mostly stripers, sea bass. Sometimes people want to go shark fishing. And then when it comes down to like the fall, like we're now, we get a lot of more avid anglers. We get a lot of people from New Jersey, New York, that want to come down and who are like, bringing their own gear and, really want to, catch those big fish, those big togs. So.
I hear you. And, you said a very special word for me, which was gear, because my basement is probably more well equipped than Bass Pro Shops, if I have the right to say that, but I think I do. And what is your favorite type of gear? What type of rods or reels do you like to use up there? It's definitely got to be light tackle, I'm assuming.
Yeah, a lot of light tackle. I really love Daiwa. Daiwa's worked really well for us. I'm really into their saltists. They have some nice spinning rods. The conventionals. We kind of use everything. But yeah, Daiwa, in the last couple of years, we've been really using Daiwa a lot. So I've been liking them.
And I can guarantee, probably bet my life on it, that my pops is watching this right now. And he's probably saying, that's my girl. He's a big Daiwa guy. That's his thing. Me personally, I'm a Shimano dude. I mean, Daiwa does make some great stuff, but I fell in love with my Stratix. That's what I like to use.
Yeah, I have one of those too. So.
At least you're not 100% committed to the Daiwa. You might be able to be converted just a little bit.
Yeah, just a little. I'm also you're in Jersey, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm also a big fan of Jigging World. I'm sure you know Jigging World.
Oh yeah, I know Young very, very well, and
yeah.
I'm happy to be one of the first customers to buy one of the Jigging World products. I bought the first 4 Ghost Hunters from them at the
that's what I have.
The expo show, and up until, no shade to Jigging World, but up until I produced my own rod.
Yep.
I fish Jigging World products exclusively. They make a phenomenal product that is off the charts good. And that's awesome to hear that somebody that far north is using, some Jersey company stuff. That's pretty good to hear.
Yeah, I've been using it for probably three or 4 years now. So
yeah,
it's up there on my list.
All right, so I gotta ask, a couple of friends of the show, SNS Bucktails and Tony Maja products. You guys use that a lot up there?
Yeah, I use Tony Maja products. I like the bunker spoons. We troll those for bass. Yeah, I like those. Everyone always sees them around here like, what is that? I'm like, it's a bunker spoon.
Yeah, so Tony is a very good friend, a great dude, and makes a phenomenal product. I think you guys got to get up on those flutter spoons up there. I'm not sure if they're hitting the wave up there in New England yet, but
the flutter spoons, yeah.
Jigging, for the people who are not really big into trolling, I'm not really that big of a fan of trolling because it's like the boat is doing everything. Mm-hmm. I'm still one of those people who like to sit there and jig, but the flutter spoons has become like the new craze, and they work really, really well.
Yeah, there was who was that? It's Ben
Parker.
Yes, those were like all over Rhode Island this spring. Everyone's like, "Oh, you got to use these. You got to use these." And I'm totally for them. I know they work. But every time I went to use them, nothing. I'm like, where are all these big fish everyone's saying they're catching on these? I don't know.
I'm one of those people that if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And, what's been working for me for the past 20 years is a swim shad. That's just my thing. And, you bounce off the bottom, you jerk it, you jig it, you do whatever, and you're going to catch some fish no matter what kind of species it is. And it always works fine. So if it ain't broke again, don't fix it.
Yeah, I agree.
So a young girl like you're in college, you're a full-time charter captain, you're making YouTube videos. When do you ever have time for yourself?
It's not often, but when I do, I go fishing. I'll take my dinghy out. A lot of people know me for that, taking that out and going tog fishing in it. But yeah, fishing is pretty much my life. I do it for fun. I do it as a job. It's just kind of what I was brought up into.
So you're as salty as they come.
Oh yeah, I'm salty.
That's awesome to hear. So if I were to give you a call tomorrow and say, hey, look, I'm going to book you for the day, but we're going to target what you want to target. What is your favorite species to target?
Well, that's pretty easy. It's definitely Tautog. Tautog is definitely my favorite. I used to be more of a striper person, and then over the last 5 years, it turned on. I just, caught a couple big ones. It's all it's all it takes. Catch a couple big ones and you're a hook,
Yeah, I hear you. And I got to watch what I say sometimes on this podcast because I've got some backlash just because I think that, and guys don't kill me, but striper for me is kind of boring. I mean, it's a great fish and they're all right to catch, but it's like, I'd rather go bluefish fishing any day of the week. It's way better of a fight. They don't taste good at all, but I like to catch and release bluefish. A striper gives you that initial 45 seconds, maybe a minute, depending on the size and the light tackle that you're using. But like after that, it's just reeling in dead weight. So I'm not on the striped bass craze like everybody else, but I'm a Jersey guy. That's the state, game fish. So I gotta go catch them when I can. But I don't see the big deal. But blackfish with tautog, it's one of those fish that will really humble you.
Oh yes, yes.
Because no matter how good you think you are, this fish is gonna make you look silly. Because I remember, when I first got started, I'm not sure if you know who Captain Jerry Pastorino is, the fishmonger in New Jersey.
Yeah, I've heard of him.
Well known and respected captain everywhere. And I had the privilege that my first time tog fishing to be on his boat. And this man stood next to me that rail. Okay, you gotta stay completely still. You gotta keep your rod tip down, leave a little bow so there's no craziness of the thing moving because these fish spook really fast. And I just remember feeling that first initial scratch. He's like, not yet. And then you feel that tug, and he's like, no. And I still missed him, and it dug me into the rocks. And I was just like, man, I'm gonna lose a lot of gear fishing for these fish. But when you catch it, it's so rewarding because this is one of the few fish in our area that I believe actually takes some type of skill.
Yes, totally agree. It definitely takes some skill. And a lot of people always ask me, like, well, how do I know when to set the hook? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know when to set the hook. You just got to go for it. It's just like one of those things where, it's like they
swing for the fences with these fish.
And like they're weird too, because sometimes the bite will be on, the bite will be off, and that'll be a matter of a couple hours. And sometimes they have a really hard bite. It's like very noticeable and obvious. And then sometimes it's like this little scratch, and a massive fish. So it's hard.
What I've noticed about these fish is, they're very, very particular. Like usually every charter will offer you the green crabs or the white crabs. But I brought a bag of frozen shrimp with me one day. And these guys on the boat absolutely wanted to murder me because I started the shrimp bite and every single person on the boat is using white leggers. And I'm the only one getting hits. It's like these fish just turn completely, okay, shrimp, that's the ticket right now. And like, is it like that up there in Rhode Island? Like, are they very particular with what they eat at that exact moment?
Sometimes it can be. Definitely depends on how the bite is. Like sometimes guys will use whole crabs and the guy next to him using the half crabs getting hit every minute, Yeah. When the bite gets, when you get them chewing, I actually just wrote an article for the Fisherman's Magazine about tautog and building a bite. And I really can't stress that enough, but you sometimes have to really build a bite for these fish. You gotta, get them chewing, once they, one starts to chew, then another one will come up, and next thing you know, you have this whole swarm of fish where you can't even tighten your line quick enough, and they're already on your bait.
Absolutely. Like a lot of people ask me about tog fishing, and they always think tog fishing, and I only tell them that it's two things: you need a lot of humility and a ton of patience to catch these fish. Am I right on that?
Yes, and a lot of bait.
A lot of bait, a lot of gear, a lot of sinkers, because you're gonna lose a lot when these fish dig you in there. It's hard to get them out, and they're extremely, extremely smart and extremely fast. But that's cool to hear that you wrote something for the Fisherman Magazine. We've had Jim Hutchinson on this show. We've had Pocono George on here. It's a great publication. They've been around for like ever. Way longer than I've been born. But before I let you go, I want to give you the chance to let everybody know where they can find you, website, phone number, whatever, and I'll drop links down in the description below.
Sure, yeah. You can find me at Sarastar Charters, fishing vessel Coral Rose, out of Newport, Rhode Island. Our website is www.sarastarcharters.com.
Absolutely. It was great talking to you, Cap. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Thanks for having me.
Well, that was really fun for me to sit down and talk to Captain Coral Aiello. She's a great girl, one hell of a fisherman, and I encourage you all to check out all her social media. And if you're in the Rhode Island area, definitely give her charter a call. You know, she's definitely gonna put you on some fish, and she's up there catching some behemoths up there for sure. So, guys, that's all I have for you this week. I hope you guys enjoyed, and get out there, bend the rod, and I'm out. Tight lines.